You see, I don't get it, because what we have at the moment is the mainstream media and also the general public going in against the government, complaining about their hypocrisy and their lies and the fact that they flouted the lockdown rules that they had instilled for the general public. And I get this, and I get the frustration, and I get the anger, but where was this frustration? Where was this anger? And where was this questioning and digging and grilling from the media 2 years ago, 1 year ago, 18 months ago, when they were imposing these restrictions upon us? Day after day after day, we had to watch press conferences where Whitty and Boris and the other guys got up and told us why we were being put into lockdown, why they were ruining people's businesses, people's lives, their mental health, while they were cancelling other important appointments because of the virus. And back then, what did we have? Well, we had the likes of Laura Kunsberg, or whatever her name is, from the BBC, asking such soft questions, not offering any challenge, any opposition, or representing the thoughts of the people who wanted to know why their lives were being restricted, why their freedoms were being taken away, why in many cases their livelihoods and their businesses were being destroyed. They didn't ask the questions. But now it's come to light that Boris had some No.10 chums round for wine and cheese, and they're asking all the questions in the world. They don't have any issues with grilling them over what type of Merlot they were drinking, or whether it was indeed taxpayers' money that was going to fund this wine and cheese party. But yet, a year ago, they were spending billions and billions of taxpayers' money on failed and often harmful schemes, whilst keeping us all locked down. And back then, the media offered no opposition, and people, by and large, offered no opposition. If you crawled social media back at the beginning of lockdown in April, May last year, people were falling over themselves to suggest that maybe we should have stronger restrictions. Maybe people were asking for the army to be put on the streets, for people to have to carry passes where they go to justify their venturing out of their houses. Lock me down, people were saying. Lock us down. We need a proper lockdown. Boris didn't act soon enough. He hasn't acted strong enough. He's too weak. And now they're complaining. Now they're moaning because they flouted the rules. Well, I hate to break this to you, but these are politicians. Hypocrisy, double standards, and living by the rules that they don't set for us is what politicians do. We have a long history of it in this country, and it's not right. And people are right to be angry by this. But why are they angry about this when, for the last 18 months, such a vast proportion of people have just gone along with everything the government have said? We have outpourings now, people saying, oh, I was stuck at home, I couldn't go and see my elderly family members. But meanwhile, Boris was having wine and cheese. You could have gone to see your elderly family members. It was your choice not to. Yes, of course, they say we shouldn't and we couldn't and whatever. Okay, but did you actually honestly believe at the time that the politicians were going to be living by the rules they set themselves? We knew at the time of this party that old Dominic Cummings had already broken the restrictions. The old Professor Lockdown, Neil Ferguson, had been travelling in and out of London all the time and across London to go and bonk his married mistress. We knew this. This has been reported on. The hypocrisy was already there, laid bare for us to see. But so many blindly went along with the rules, and only now are they complaining that they adhered to the rules, but the politicians didn't. Well, we knew this. And the worst thing was, in my eyes, I was questioning this from the start, and I'm not here to be smug or wise after the event or say, look, wasn't I right? But I was begging at the time. When we had these press conferences day in, day out, I was begging for one of the journalists from the mainstream media to come out and ask the difficult questions. So when are we going to be free? Why are you destroying people's livelihoods, mental health, ignoring cancer screenings and all the rest of it, all the other negative side effects, all the other real human costs of lockdown? But nobody dared do that. But now the government are on the ropes, Boris is on the ropes, and whilst the majority of the pandemic, touch wood, seems to be behind us, they are revelling in the unravelling of Boris and of the Conservative Party over something which is, let's face it, slightly irritating and hypocritical, but what else do we expect? It beggars belief how many people went along with all these rules, all these restrictions, and are only now complaining about them because the government have been exposed for hypocrisy. We all know there are a bunch of lying hypocrites. And it doesn't matter whether that's the Tories or Labour or Lib Dem or any other party. Politicians have a history of being lying hypocrites. So why did you follow all the rules? And now you want answers about garden party. People aren't asking for answers about why we're still having to put a bit of cloth over our mouth and nose when we go into Tesco's. But we don't have to when we go to the pub or anywhere else. No one's asking these questions. No one's asking the tough questions of the government. They just want to know, how many parties were there? Who was invited? Oh, here's a leaked email. We don't care. We don't care. And if you do care, maybe have a think about the things you should be caring about instead. Stay safe and sane.